7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite. Sharing love in the metazone, lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we inspire.
Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of the Planet B podcast. Today, we continue our deep dive into the Oxford Union debate. Dr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having this. This has been exciting.
Let's begin with the opening quotes by William Penn.
Yeah, William Penn said, in all debates, let truth be thy aim, not victory or an unjust interest. So basically, a debate should be about discerning the truth.
Right.
So we are giving our points of view, but the ultimate objective is to help the audience and ourselves discern the truth. Meaning you have to be open to changing your mind when you hear something that other person is saying that points out something that's wrong in what you're thinking. So, but we had a debate on this topic on whether the world should go vegan or not at the Oxford Union in 2023, November. And I didn't hear anything that would make me change my mind. I'm sorry to say. Yeah. Well, I guess, in that sense, the truth is pretty clear about this.
Let's begin with what was the Oxford Union debates and who participated in this debate?
So the Oxford Union happens to be the oldest debating society still operating today. Okay, it's 200 years old as of
Wow.
2023. So it was started in 1823, and it was started by students at Oxford University protesting against the fact that they couldn't speak out on certain topics. They
Mm.
couldn't discuss certain topics within the university. So they went out and said, we're going to discuss it anyway. And they started doing this. And now it is one of the most famous debating platforms in the world because lots of debates happen once a week during term. So they organized the final debate of the 200th year of the Oxford Union to be the debate on the topic, this house would go vegan.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. They call it term. That term, president of the Oxford Union, happened to be vegan.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so she wanted to have this debate.
That's great.
She had been vegan for 3 years when I met her. And her name is Disha Hegde. So she she was the first speaker for the proposition. The debate happens with 4 people on either side. So totally there are 8 speakers. And each speaker gets about 10 minutes. The students and faculty of Oxford are in the audience, and they're all members of the union, the Oxford Union. Okay. It's not an official Oxford University entity, as you can imagine, because the students walked out of the university to start this.
Yeah.
But since then, a lot of people have gone through the Oxford Union. The alumni support the Oxford Union to hold these debates. So there's a proposition that's being debated, and there are 4 people who speak for the proposition and 4 people who speak against the proposition. And we alternate. So it's led off by the first speaker for the proposition, then first speaker speaks against the proposition, and then for, against, and so on. So we had arranged it so that for the proposition, we had one person speaking about ethics, one person speaking about the environment, one person speaking about health, and the president led it off. Yeah, she covered a lot of the topics as an intro. And against the proposition also, they had a similar breakdown. There was an environmental expert, and there was a ethics expert. She called us an ethics expert.
Yeah, I would say there wasn't. The thing is, when I watched that debate, it seemed like the vegan group was very formalized and structured, but then the other side was a little crazy.
Yeah, this is why I said I didn't hear anything that made me change my mind, because their arguments were not very cohesive. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
But you can watch all 8 videos on our website and on YouTube. You can so if we assume like 10 minutes per person and 2 minutes for prep, that's about an hour and a half right there for just the speeches. And then before the speeches, we had a nice formal dinner, and the dinner was entirely vegan because the
Nice.
president of the Oxford Union was vegan. Besides, if you have a debate like this, I think the dinner has to be vegan because everybody can eat vegan food, but the vegans cannot eat the non-vegan food,
All right.
right? So, and it was very nice. It was a very nice dinner. But you can hear one of the people who spoke against the proposition, Katie Hopkins, was not very happy with the dinner she got to eat. And so
Uh,
she took off on that. Yeah.
well, I think this would be a good time to play your section of the debate. So we will have people enjoy your 10 minutes section, and then we'll come back after.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's really my privilege to speak at a venue where 200 years ago you began rebelling against false orthodoxy. Today I want to rebel with you against false orthodoxy by speaking on bovine matters. I mean, of course, cows. There is a cow in the room, and not everyone can see it. I hope that by the end of this debate, eyes will be opened. The orthodoxy, the herd opinion if you like, is that animal agriculture has little to do with climate change. I believe that is very wrong. I believe that based on data. I am an environmentalist by occupation, but a systems engineer by profession. And systems is what I do. I invented the protocol for transforming early analog internet connections to more robust digital connections while accelerating them tenfold. Still today, any data accessed on the internet likely passed through a device implementing this protocol. So I plead that this House rebel once again and vote for the proposition that this House would go vegan. Veganism is defined as a philosophy and way of living that seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. It is a very British movement. It started in the UK. The proposition asks that this House go vegan, not be vegan, implying that this is a journey, not a destination. And I highly recommend this journey on ethical, health, and environmental grounds. And I will now focus on the environmental reasons to go vegan. It is undeniable that human civilization has adversely impacted life support systems on the planet. Scientists have identified 9 planetary boundaries that we must stay within for the sustainability of life on Earth. At the moment, we have transgressed 6 of them. And any one of these transgressions is enough to kill life as we know it on this planet. The good news is that when we go vegan, we help resolve all 6 of them. That's the power we have as individuals to reverse our existential crisis. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of ecological destruction because it uses 37% of the ice-free land area of the planet just to graze animals, while bottom trawling an area of the ocean floor the size of South America every year for industrial fishing. Animal agriculture is the only major activity in which we destroy forests and replace them not with other trees for timber or paper, but with grass, which drastically reduces the diversity of life that the land can support. Animal agriculture is the primary reason why humans have reduced the number of trees on the planet by half, from 6 trillion to 3 trillion over the past 10,000 years. Restoring those 3 trillion trees can draw down enough carbon to completely reverse climate change. Animal agriculture is grossly inefficient because animals must eat 39 pounds of plants to produce 1 pound of human food on average, a burden which the world can no longer afford. By going vegan, we can give nearly 40% of the land area of the planet back to nature, as well as the entire ocean. When we restore the native ecosystems on that land, we can grow most of the 3 trillion trees that we cut down over the past 10,000 years. This helps resolve all 6 planetary boundary transgressions. The least violated transgression is freshwater change. Rewilding the land that's currently used for grazing animals will restore the freshwater cycles of the planet. The next is land system change. Going vegan will allow us to return nearly 40% of the land area of the planet back to nature, resolving this planetary boundary transgression. The next worst transgression is climate change, which can be resolved when the excess carbon in the atmosphere is absorbed in the trees and soil that we can restore to the ecosystems of the planet.
The next is chemical pollution, which will be safely stored away in regenerating forests when we go vegan. Eating animal foods currently delivers concentrated doses of this chemical pollution into our bodies through bioaccumulation. Therefore, going vegan addresses chemical pollution for both the earth and for ourselves. The next worst transgression is nitrogen and phosphorus loading, mainly through our overuse of synthetic fertilizers for crops. Since over half the crops are being fed to animals, going vegan will resolve this transgression as well. All of these transgressions impact wildlife, and therefore biodiversity loss is the worst of the 6 planetary boundary transgressions. By restoring habitats for wild animals and allowing them to freely live in the ocean, we resolve this transgression as well. If instead we let wild animals die, we die. It's that serious. There are 2 explanations for perhaps the greatest threat ever faced by civilization and all life on Earth: the imminent danger of runaway climate change. One explanation, the one we hear about all the time from our leading climate spokespeople, is the burning of fossil fuels. It is certainly true that the burning of fossil fuels contributes greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, thereby warming the planet. But the other explanation, what I call the cow in the room, is rarely addressed: the human folly of exploiting animals. That is animal agriculture. Excuse me. When these 2 sources of greenhouse gases are compared in the media, fossil fuel burning is almost always emphasized and is almost always assigned the greater responsibility for causing climate change. But the opposite is true. When you factor in the potential carbon absorption of the forest land that is cleared for animal agriculture, you find, with any honest accounting, as I published in a peer-reviewed paper, that animal agriculture is responsible for at least 87% of greenhouse gases on an annual basis. When I made that calculation, I did not include the respiration of farmed animals. I did not include the bottom trawling of the oceans by industrial fishing. I did not include the carbon released by pasture maintenance fires set annually on grazing lands around the world. I did not include the loss of phytoplankton populations and sea forests due to industrial fishing. I did not include these factors mainly because they haven't been reliably assessed due to a futile attempt by the orthodoxy to hide the cow in the room. But it seems clear to me that if we could estimate these factors and include them in our calculation, we would find that animal agriculture is responsible for, wait for it, more than 100% of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. Now that sounds unbelievable. How could it possibly be responsible for more than 100%? Because the evidence points to the possibility that the earth will cool in a vegan world even if we continue all our other activities as we do today. The cessation of animal agriculture will result in healthy oceans, healthy forests, and healthy soils. And if we want to reverse climate change, then we must adopt a strategy that can draw down greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Healthy oceans and sea forests can do that. Healthy soils and trees can do that. Solar panels and electric cars cannot. Now, I'm not a supporter of the fossil fuel industry. Far from it. It's my engineering assessment that we must wean ourselves off fossil fuels eventually, but gradually. But if we burn fossil fuels to heat and cool our homes, to transport ourselves, to ship goods, to manufacture goods, these are all social goods. What social good comes from animal agriculture? Nothing. Only obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, biodiversity destruction, soil depletion, falling of our waterways, antibiotic resistance, dangerous and dehumanizing work, animal cruelty, climate catastrophe, world hunger, and let's not forget pandemics. Indeed, there is nothing that will not improve when we end the cruelty and folly of exploiting animals. I have just given you the intellectual reasons to go vegan, but lasting change comes not from the head but from the heart. In that regard, I have made a pinky promise to our granddaughter Kimaya that the world will go largely vegan by 2026, which is the year we will have killed almost all the wild animals on earth if we do not change course. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm confident that true to your 200-year tradition of rebelling against false orthodoxy, this House will once again break away from the herd, see the cow in the room, and vote for the proposition to help our generation keep this sacred promise for all the children of the world. Thank you for your consideration from the bottom of my heart.
Dr. Rao, what was the audience reaction to your speech and the proposition that we should go vegan?
No, during my speech, my granddaughter was there in the audience, and my wife was there, my son was there. And you notice that during the speech, I couldn't peel a piece of paper from the other one. The two pieces of paper got stuck. So I spent about 15 seconds trying to get the paper apart because I wanted to make sure that I covered all the things I needed to say. Right? So I wrote it all down and I didn't memorize it. So I just, so because I had that delay during the speech, when I mentioned 2026, the bell rang.
I have made a pinky promise to our granddaughter Kimaya that the world will go largely vegan by 2026.
Wow, that's
So
incredible.
if you notice that, and it happened, and for me, I was just stunned when that happened. So it's because as if Mother Nature is, fiddling with things so that it landed exactly at the 10-minute spot, so that they would ring the bell for me,
It's
saying,
incredible.
yeah. Then I finished soon after, and I got a good ovation from the audience. And at the end, so the way they vote is that everyone walks either to the left of the door or to the right of the door. So they put a pole in the middle of the door. Okay. If you walk to the right of the door, you are for the proposition. If you walk to the left of the door, you're against the proposition. And apparently the line that was walking out the door for the proposition was so long that some of the people at the back said, oh, they're going to win anyway, and they walked out the other side. Because they knew our side was going to win. But the official tally is 112 to 84.
Nice.
Yeah, 112 for the proposition and 84 against the proposition, which means technically the House would go vegan, which in a way it's a direction to Oxford to go vegan, okay, from the student body. I mean, Oxford is very vegan friendly. I have to admit that, half the main dishes are vegan. And when I went to have lunch at one of the halls there, everyone was eating only the vegan food. I didn't see anyone eating the non-vegan food, even though it was
Wow.
available. Yeah,
That's great.
At least at my table, everyone was eating the vegan food. So people are beginning to be much more aware that this is not just an ethical issue of conscience. It's an issue of how you're impacting the environment and the planet for everybody.
Exactly.
So that's secondhand eating, which is that our choices for what we eat has an impact on the entire planet. Okay, whereas with secondhand smoking, my smoking had an impact on those around us. Okay, not the entire planet. I mean, you could argue it eventually diffuses and goes to the entire planet, but it's so diluted by that time. But this one has an impact on the entire planet, right? Because we normalize this as a culture, eating animals.
because of the numbers that you gave of each side, there was probably around 220-ish people in the room. And
Right.
a lot of those people who went to that vegan side probably were not fully vegan. So it's really encouraging to see that the non-vegan people, even though they aren't yet, they are moving in that vegan direction. And it's encouraging for all the vegan activists out there to say, hey,
Right.
when we present the message in a good way, that it does change people.
Oh, absolutely. Because people at Oxford are thinkers, they're thinking. And when you're thinking, you kind of realize very quickly that this is the right thing to do at this time.
What lasting impact do you think the debate will have?
Oh, the debate it basically drew a line in the sand saying, now it is very, very clear that the world is going to go vegan.
Right.
Okay? The students who represent the next generation are saying that the world is going to be vegan. Now, they're saying it for very logical reasons about the environment, for ethics and so on, which means the sooner we adopt it, the better it is for their world that they're going to inherit.
Yeah.
Right. So I say that it sends a message to the older generation, like my generation, to get on with it. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling my generation, once they voted, once they said that, we have to get on with it. We cannot just dilly-dally, right? Because it's their future that you're determining.
Did anything be put in place at the university itself because of the uh, response to that debate?
Well, so the first speaker was the current president of the Oxford Union. And the second speaker was the incoming president,
Nice.
who is going to become the president at the next term.
Uh,
And she was speaking against the proposition.
oh dear.
And she was saying, hey, if you pass this, I have to take away your cream. I have to take away your muffins. So I wrote to her after that saying, did you do it? Because you lost. You said you have to take away once you lose, right? But I didn't
Yeah.
hear back from her.
Oh, boo. No response.
Yeah. Because she threatened the people, if you don't, please don't vote for it because I'll really have to do it if you vote for it.
Uh, it's funny because I just think of Planet A. Like when you say that, I just think Planet A of just the political issue of like,
Right,
oh, I'll do it, but no, it doesn't happen.
right. Yeah. But I think it obviously has an impact because we are going to keep bringing it up. I keep bringing it up saying students have spoken that the future is vegan. Right? And once you realize the future is vegan, we have to get on with it. In that sense, it was a very important debate that happened.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but where can people watch the debate?
Go to climatehealers.org/Oxford Union Debate. And all the videos are there in the right order on the homepage of that.
Wonderful. And again, you mentioned this a little bit as well, but if you could expand on it, if you don't mind, is why is it important to get this message out to the youth, this vegan message?
We are all indoctrinated with myths on planet A. Okay, and the myths tell us to go against this message. The myths kind of tell you that protein is only found in animal foods, and calcium is only found in dairy foods. So these are essential components of your diet that you have to eat and so on. So the myth is something that you do unconsciously, okay? Because everyone is doing it around you. It's like the air you breathe, you normally breathe like that. So the myth is the way society operates, and you just go along with it. And it's important to reach the youth and help them think consciously out of it, out of that myth.
All right.
Okay? So that's the only way to break a myth. like that. And so you have to consciously now adopt axioms as opposed to unconsciously following myths. The myth controls you, and you control the axioms that you choose. And going vegan is about adopting new axioms in your life. So it's saying these axioms are not what the prevailing culture is saying is the right thing to do, but this is in alignment with who I really am. You know, and it's important to get the youth out of that, break the trance that they are in with the myths and break them out of it as soon as possible, because those myths are literally destroying the planet around us.
Yeah. One of your big topics you discuss on Planet B is education, education, education. How do you think the education system should change so that this message is being properly shared with the youth, and then the youth feel empowered to go and bring about Planet B through veganism, through rewilding, and through all the efforts that are being propagated by climate healers?
Well, ideally, I would like all educational institutions to adopt the Planet B axioms. Because the Planet B axioms, the axioms that we have been talking about, are logical, and you can verify that they are correct.
Yeah.
They appear to be true at this time, right? And if an educational institution is not aligned with the truth, then it's lost its entire legitimacy.
Right.
Right. See, this is why once I found out that I had been lied to in my education about protein and calcium, I was very upset initially. I was like, how dare they lie to me? I mean, I trusted these people, right? So you lose that, trust. And this is why I am telling education institutions, please, as quickly as possible, change your curriculum. Adopt the axioms and change your curriculum. Discard the myths, because they are lying to people. They're lying to their students, misleading them. And even if it is being done unconsciously, we have to persuade them to consciously adopt the right axioms. So that's why education is the most important, because if the educational institutions are aligned with the axioms, they will have default vegan in their cafeteria. I want people to make that choice themselves, but you have to make it easy for them to make that choice. You have to make healthy, delicious vegan food normal in the cafeterias as the baseline, and even, charge them more for destroying the planet.
Right.
If they want to eat meat or animal foods, they have to pay more, which I think is very reasonable. Because then they have to consciously make that choice, right? Whereas right now they're unconsciously making that choice.
Yeah.
So we have to raise that level, and it's the responsibility of educational institutions to educate for the future. So as soon as the Oxford Union said the future is vegan, all educational institutions have to educate for the future, right? That's, to me, is logical.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Rao, how do you think we could get this message out more to the youth? So, we've talked about different education initiatives and things, which are very exciting, which hopefully will be coming about this year. What ways do you think we can get this message out the best to our next generation?
Well, ideally, I would like the professors to, to adopt these axioms. Do they not believe that all life is interdependent? All these axioms that we are talking about, it's scientifically valid, right? At the moment.
Yeah.
So then it will happen organically if they do that. Otherwise, we are going and talking to students and telling them to defy their professors.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
Right? And it makes it very difficult because the current education system is all about top down.
Mm.
The professor knows more than you. That's why they're the professor. And they are going to teach you what you should know as a student. That's the kind of pedagogy that we have today. And in that pedagogy, it's important to get the professors on board. And a lot of the professors already know. Yeah,
Yeah.
they know. But it takes courage to go against the grain and to tell the truth.
Yeah. So we should
And
really be going
that's
to the professors. Like, if we could get to have these conversations with the professors, maybe a really good first step.
right. Yeah. We could have like a, debate with professors, right? Not just the students. The students organize this debate, but we need to probably engage the professors as well and get it all out. Yeah. I'm thinking of organizing a conference, inviting academics to come and submit papers on Planet B. Critique it.
Right.
Tell me why I'm wrong. Right? Tell me why this is not the right way to do it.
It kind of encourages them to do a deep dive themselves then, to try to
Right.
poke holes in it.
Right.
It's a really good idea.
Can invite contributions from academics.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So, Dr. Rao, as we wrap up episode 26 on the Oxford Union debates, is there any closing message you'd like to share with our audience today?
Well, know that the future is vegan and you're part of it. And so help us make that future happen as quickly as possible. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Thank you so much to our audience today. And our next episode is one of my very favorite chapters in the book. It is chapter 27, Codes for a Healthy Earth. So we hope you all join us once again. So thank you, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where progress includes all beings, not just humans. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
Brown.
Yes, I'm sort of amazed. Every section becomes better and better. I didn't expect too much from this because I had heard it before, but the way you gave it was so convincing to me. It is unbelievable. And I think I'm experiencing now what you have not gone through for a long time. Namely, I have some of my friends, scientists, I've approached and I told them that I worked with you. And in the beginning, I had a nice conversation, but most of them didn't respond at all later on. They thought it was poison. I guess.
Right.
So I thought this morning that actually the best thing to do is probably go to the daughter of the scientist. We know them quite well, and to ask them to read your book.
Okay.
And then talk to their father or their mother, whatever. So it has to come from the younger generation, because the older ones, can't change that easily. They are very willing, but they don't know. Can't think it can be that simple. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. But thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're convinced. And, I think we need to make a more public stand together. We'll figure out something to do that.
Yeah, Bianca suggested I should talk maybe in Dartmouth College here and give a presentation there with the professors there.
The funny thing is that for our Christmas dinner, we had three neighbors over, and one is the head of the food department here in Dartmouth. And so his friend came and said, he's from Gaza, and he made a beef dish from his native origin. But the friend who works in here in Dartmouth in food is allergic to beef. I've never heard of such a thing. So he couldn't eat it. So we had this split situation here that we felt, well, the friend who brought in the beef is actually very famous. He's Mohsen Madawi, who's very famous these days. And he had brought it because this is his native gift. And we felt obliged to, felt like to really try it because that was important. So there are situations here that I think we do want to have the freedom to make a little exception for some kind of sake, as long as basically we stick to it and then work our way up with the system in any way we can. It's my little thought this morning.
In the chat, Planet B is asking if he could connect with you because he's part of a team that goes to colleges and teaches people how to cook plant-based.
Oh,
And
good.
They're willing to come to Dartmouth and with a team and help the cafeteria understand how to cook.
Oh, fantastic.
Wonderful.
That would be great. We're looking for something to do, really. That would be
All right.
one.
Okay. I'll connect you with them. Okay.
Yeah,
Separately.
that would be very good. Yeah.
Thanks, Minik. Ray?
Hi, Dr. Rao. This topic riles me up because as we're engaging the debate,
Right.
You engaged a debate, a very specific debate that happened on a particular day, but there's a debate that's been going on throughout history. And I think we need to 2026 has to be the year that we hold feet to the fire and say, you lost the debate in Oxford. If you don't accept those results, then you have to step up and defend your position.
Right.
They have to come forth and say, okay, I don't like who is representing us in that debate. I reject the results because I wasn't there. So if you have a better result, if you think that you can represent the position better, then that should have happened. It should have happened the day after that debate, but it didn't. And what does it mean when there's people who oppose the results but don't have the nerve or the integrity to defend it, but still proceed in the assumption that the world doesn't need to go vegan?
Right. Yeah.
And there's professors. You mentioned professors at the end of the podcast, and I got excited about that because it was exactly what I was typing in the chat. That there are Oxford professors in particular that I'd love to see them part of that debate. I wish they were there in that room.
Right.
One of them is Kate Rayworth, who's the founder of the Donut Economics. She's an Oxford professor, and she went vegan a couple of years ago. I heard about that in a podcast. She doesn't advertise it openly because she doesn't want to politicize it. But does it have an effect? Doesn't it have the biggest effect on her donut?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I consider her to be one of the people who have a lot of hope that she is going to take a different path of the silence behind our solutions. And the other professors, Dr. Tara Garnett, who is the founder of the Food and Climate Research Network, which is now called TABLE, where they debate agricultural impacts. And similarly, I'm familiar with her for a lot longer because she was part of the debate with Goodwin and Anhang, who wanted to open the discussion on impacts of animal agriculture. She was part of the team who shut it down. I mean, or at least provided a counter argument. And this gets back to the debate that's happening within scientific journals, the history of animal agriculture's exposition as a leading cause of climate change, the leading cause of climate change. Goodwin and Anhang said 51%, which was tantalizing. It should have, like, if it was a debate, it should have opened up a whole bunch of new research. Instead, you see in The Guardian that there's evidence that the Food and Agriculture Organization, who took the keys to this conversation, have buried them in their pocket, and they don't want to talk about it. The representatives of the FAO fought back against Goodwin and Anhang, and the counter-publishing was in a seed journal, not in a climate journal. Still is not in a climate journal anywhere. So the climate community, we can recognize that the Food and Agriculture Organization, their motto is bread, produce food for people. They're good, and it is good to make sure that the world gets fed, but you're not a climate organization, and everybody seems to think that you are. Mm-hmm. So where is the environmental community, the people who authentically want to fix climate change? We can't count on the people who want to maintain the status quo of agriculture. Yeah. And who's Goodwin and Anhang we're debating against? People who are developing feed additives they'll make things marginally more sustainable because it'll reduce the amount of methane. Yeah. Without addressing the source of the methane, without the courage to say, can we proceed with the global herd growing rather than being reduced? And they can't say that. You can't get them in a debate so that you ask them that question. That's why they won't debate you, because they will not be able to answer those questions. Right. And I challenge anybody get into a debate with anybody over agriculture, ask them whether the global herd should grow or shrink, and suddenly they get really quiet. I got a heat of steam. Obviously, I'm a very big fan of debate, and I get really frustrated when things like the climate journals, where the integrity of science should be upheld, is silent on the topic. Yeah, right. 2026 has got to be the year, right? This is when we break the skin.
We're going to do it. Basically, it's a totalitarian system, and bullies have to be confronted, and only then will they. I mean, when you confront bullies, they back down, right? So we have to do that.
How do we hold their feet to the fire?
Yeah, it's.
We have to say their names. I just said two names.
Right.
Hopefully they're watching this recording of this debate. They're not here today. They're probably not watching online.
Right. There are plenty of them. That we can name.
And Plant-Based Treaty is part of the Donut Economics Action Lab, DEAL. Mm-hmm. And I've attended some of the online meetings, some of them involving Kate Rayworth. And I think that there's a good challenge there that Plant-Based Treaty can be, endorse Plant-Based Treaty. Good. They can engage Kate Rayworth and tell us more about what you think that can happen with professors and moving it from the foremost students to the foremost professors.
Yeah, it's we have to change the curriculum because we are educating the next generation. And we shouldn't be educating the next generation with the same old things that are making things worse, right? We know it's making things worse year by year. So it's up to the education system to change. Yeah, so that's the basic argument why you need to change the curriculum. Because things are getting worse, right? So now you say, okay, what should it be? And that's where you invite them to come and talk. What is it that's going to make things better year by year?
Okay. I'm always curious about when you see the research papers and they say the authors have no conflicts of interest to declare. Hmm. Nobody has conflicts of interest ever. Sometimes it has to be a financial conflict of interest. Being employed by the FAO is a conflict of interest in itself. We need, even if it doesn't say that in the paper, we have to understand it. We have to know what the FAO is for and understand the a bit of the history. Like I'm fascinated with why the FAO became holding the keys to emissions. It's because the climate community didn't want them. They didn't want to talk about them. They didn't talk about them at any point in any significant way before 2006, when the FAO published a rogue paper. I think the Livestock's Long Shadow was a rogue paper that didn't follow the protocol of how research is done in the IPCC.
Yeah.
They just independently published something. And my interpretation of that moment was the agriculture community going, "What are you doing? Why are you talking about this? How dare you?" We had this awesome silence going where we weren't responsible for any of our emissions. That's telling in and of itself, and it's pretty obvious. It's there in the Guardian. You can read about the lockdown that happened after that. But the climate community saying nothing about it. There's a new solution at that point in 2006. Instead, somebody publishes something in a climate journal, not in a climate journal, in a feed agricultural journal. Which why? How is that a jury of our peers? How is that? That's no climate scientists involved in that, other than it was the response to Goodland and Anhang, who Robert Goodland is a well-published environmental expert, and nobody recognized the opposition was all just representatives of the industry, except for Dr. Tara Garner. That's why I picked her out of the motley crew that they put together to defend animal agriculture. She was part of the Food Climate Research Network. She had an academic incentive to find the truth on this. And I think she's still part of that searching for truth conversation. But I think she has to kind of ride the fence and go, okay, half of my audience are farmers, so I got to entertain the regenerative myth that, and it really needs to be debunked. She should be part of the debunking of that myth, not the encouragement of it.
Yeah, it's been debunked several times now. It's not a valid argument, the regenerative thing. So I think they're all beginning to know. They all know. It's nothing. They even admitted to me. Right, there was a professor there who admitted to me, and he wanted to be nameless. So it's about courage at this point. Leadership and courage is what we need.
And a little bit about the legitimacy of, I don't feel that I can debate this, not because I don't know the answer, but because my platform is me as a expert on this particular topic, and requiring the prestige of being a professor, of being an expert amongst my peers. And if I say something that's unpopular with them, I can lose my funding. I can lose my platform.
Right.
And I talk about Greta Thunberg is vegan, and she could talk about it sometimes, but you can't talk about it in ways that we talk about it,
right?
Because her platform would be yanked.
Right. So now it's a question: do you want your platform or do you want a planet? It's very simple.
Or at least she would fear that her platform would be yanked in 2026. Up to 2026, that would be potentially true. Going forward, I think that it's time for Planet B, and those who want to preserve the system need to. What would be the topic of the next debate? What would be the topic that you've already done the one with the students? How would you change the debate? What debate would you propose? That what would it be called? What is it we trying to determine? Maybe specifically about, rather than personal habits of veganism, the role that animal agriculture plays in the future.
Yeah, we have to discuss what the topic would be, but essentially it's the same topic, right? Is the future vegan or not? If the future is vegan, then get on with it. Let's get on with it, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make with them.
The student debate was about personal habits. Are we all going to be vegan in the future? Whereas I think there needs to be a continuation of that debate of the impact of animal agriculture. And it's a little bit liberating in a way because it isn't challenging people. It starts with you. It does start with us, I believe. But when you talk about agriculture, it's this thing that this topic, this academic sphere that doesn't immediately address what your impacts are. I think Gerard Bishop is doing it really well. He's not saying go vegan and therefore you have to go vegan because you read my research paper. But if we say that the animal agriculture, we say things like the global herd must be diminished, and this is the measurement of what the global herd diminished to zero will be. Mm-hmm. Because they have the courage to talk about what would be the impact on the planet if we reduce fossil fuels to zero and change to a fully renewable grid. They have the courage to make those calculations, but they don't have the courage. They have to, with Project Drawdown, let's find other people that we need to hold the fire to their feet and say your half solution of plant-rich diet is an interesting measurement. It's an interesting instruction to individuals, but what is the measure of 100% reduction of animal agriculture? Right. And it's all about accounting. Is there some value to animal agriculture that fits into the future, into Planet B? Let's measure. Let's figure out what it is. There's some people that can't give up animal protein. Okay, so we'll reduce the global herd of cows to zero, and we'll sustainably grow some bivalves in the most sustainable method possible. You must be interested in that conversation, the most sustainable possible. But they're not interested in it. They're only interested in maintaining that global herd and doing these little tweaks and playing these silly shell games with regenerative agriculture. And not even talk about cows and not talk about compost and veganic agriculture. That's the real regenerative agriculture. But, where's the funding in that? Oh, yeah, there's other hands up now. Thanks.
Sure thing. Pooja?
Hi, Doctor. So there are different aspects to veganism, right? Like the environment, ethics, and health. So if it's institutions or the government that is trying to change something, then they have to look at all the aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are talking to people, individuals, then I just want to mention that I have been part of a vegan activism group, and then there when I'm having conversations with people, I tend to go towards sustainability and health aspects, but the moderators there, they just don't like my approach. They say just fix to the ethics aspect. And I have reflected on this, and then I sort of agree with them, because uh, health does not depend just on what people eat, right? People can be healthy if even they consume some animals foods, because our bodies have the ability to detoxify as well. And most people are not able to look at the bigger picture. Like if we talk about the entire planet or sustainability. So it should, and you have also mentioned in your debate that lasting change starts from the heart, right? So it should begin from the ethics aspect. So how do we make is that right? And how do we make people see that and accelerate that, like more people see the ethics aspect of it? Because I think health and environment would be the co-benefits that come once they shift to veganism, and it's a lasting change that happens.
Well, let me frame it this way for you. I agree. I said lasting change comes from the heart, but the head has to be in alignment with the heart. Meaning the head shouldn't say, I have to eat it because otherwise I'm going to wither away and die. Okay, that's where the health issue comes in. So because they have deceived us into thinking that animal foods are necessary for human well-being. This is why it's important for us to debunk the protein myth and the calcium myth. These are the two foundational myths that are keeping the system afloat. Okay? It's a totalitarian system. Okay? It's a totalitarian system because they're lying to our children To me, lying to children is one of the worst things you can do as a society. Okay? Now, even if you say the science teacher didn't know, they also believe the same myth. Somebody knows, because there is a whole database full of data telling you exactly how much protein is in every food and how much calcium is in every food. Okay, somebody knows. Okay, so this is why I say, you have to address the health, because if the head is saying you have to eat it, otherwise you're going to wither away and die, there's nothing that the heart can do about that. So you have to convince the head that's not true. Okay. Secondly, the environment is important. It's also important from an ethical perspective. The most number of animals that are being killed are not the farmed animals. They are the wild animals.
Yeah.
Okay. They were just having their family in the ocean, they were swimming around, and they got dragged by a net and then, onto a ship and got killed. Trillions of them every year, trillion every year, right? In that sense. In that sense, there's a lot more of them being, and they're literally going extinct. Okay. If you don't have, if you don't feel the emotion for that, there's something wrong with us. Okay. So that is ethics there. So you have to address that. From sustainability is also an ethical issue.
Right.
But it's making this argument. You have to make this argument so that everyone understands. Because when we just talk about suffering of animals in the factory farms or something like that, people are going to say, well, suffering has been happening for years. Buddha said life is full of suffering. And they're able to just forget about it. But sustainability says it is urgent.
Right.
You don't have much time. We don't get our act together, you're not going to have a planet. This planet is getting browner and browner year by year. And at some point, the life support systems are going to crash. This is why I say I'm grateful every day I wake up and I'm able to breathe. And I'm not joking when I say that, okay? Because I understand how systems collapse. And it's sheer foolishness to be stressing those systems, the life support systems, to that extent.
Yeah. It should not be seen in isolation. We have to see
Correct.
all the aspects.
The whole picture.
But if the ethics aspect is missing, then people may think, now I'm healthier, so I can eat meat again.
Correct.
And my environment has become better, and then I can start exploiting animals again.
Right. So everything, you have to show the whole picture. It's how do you create like a 2-minute elevator pitch covering all these topics? That's the key.
Yeah. And they're so interrelated, we cannot see them in isolation.
Correct, yeah. So I'm addressing the protein myth and the calcium myth mainly because of that, because a lot of people, like 90% of Americans believe protein is only found in meat. How will they ever change, if they believe that? And they believe that because they are taught in schools. They were miseducated in schools. And schools should not be a place where you miseducate children knowingly. To me, that is a totalitarian state, a totalitarian society that does that.
Education is the key, actually.
Key, yeah. Thank you for that question. It helped clarify a bunch of things.
Thank you.
Alison?
Thank you, Sailesh. On the subject of what's eaten at universities and what's served at universities, also I would like to broaden that to hospitals, places, public institutions where large numbers of meals are served. I've noticed in recent years that decisions are also made on the basis of reducing the carbon footprint. And some chefs and some administrators are under pressure to reduce their carbon footprint. And a lot of institutions don't have many ways to reduce their carbon footprint. And sometimes what they serve in their cafeteria is one of the biggest ways that they can reduce their carbon footprint. So I'm noticing that hospitals and universities from that point of view are actually taking action. A lot of like Cisco, the companies that serve food in a lot of public institutions, they're making commitments to reduce the number of non-vegan meals. In other words, increase the number of vegan meals to like 40% or 50%. I was wondering how is that pressure getting placed on public institutions to reduce their carbon footprint? Because that seems to be kind of like a silent train that's moving forward that we're not paying attention to. And maybe there are things we can do to encourage that or facilitate that. And I'm thinking of Dartmouth with Brahm and Binnica. Is there a vehicle that we can use to encourage that trend?
No, well, the pressure is coming from the public, from students who are saying they're concerned about their future, they want to reduce the carbon footprint. And so, and politicians are responding and institutions are responding. Especially in Europe, it's happening a lot. And now what we are trying to do, Climate Healers, is that, first of all, we're pointing out that the calculation of carbon footprint of food has been completely messed up by the IPCC, okay? And they have really undercounted it by almost an order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Right? And if you get the correct numbers in there, everyone will be jumping on this as quickly as possible. Okay.
Has anyone done those calculations?
Well, that's what we are trying to work with Susan on her.
Okay.
Because so she's got all this individual data for each food item and so on. And I'm saying, okay, let's calculate the total based on the FAO's numbers of what the total is. And see, does it match? And it doesn't match. It doesn't match. Okay, because I know that. So I said, if it doesn't match the total that I'm calculating, we have to figure out how to fudge it. So we're having a meeting next week on that.
Yeah.
With Pooja and my brother Umesh, who's joined the team. And because he's a very good engineer at figuring out what is wrong with the data. He'll nail it. He'll figure out why it is messed up. And
well,
so this way we want to offer, like from Climate Healers, I want to offer people a new metric, new way of measuring your carbon footprint that's accurate, that reflects what we are saying. It's 87%, including opportunity cost. So you have to give them the opportunity cost component, you have to give them the actual emissions component, and show how important it is for them to go plant-based, right?
Yeah.
Now, if that has a much bigger impact, then more and more institutions are going to say, well, that's an easy way. Let's do that.
Right. They're motivated. Yeah.
They'll be motivated. Yeah.
Excellent. Now I understand better the importance of what Susan is doing.
Right.
For hospitals, for universities, for large institutions, that serve food, prisons, the corrective,
No, she's doing all of them, so which is why it's a good way to get them to come on board with all the interventions. But then they will see that the food intervention is the best thing they could do. Right.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sai?
Hello, Dr. Rao. So I had a question after we had the podcast, in the Q followed by the Q&A this morning. I wrote it down actually. So why is nature not showing any signs of loss of biodiversity? Climate change is showing up as extreme weather events. Shouldn't we be angry on nature and Mother Earth for not showing any symptoms of the number one transgression? If Mother Earth and wildlife needs our help, she should scream for help just as anyone else would. Otherwise, how can the public and the society know? This is my question.
No, she's screaming. They're not listening. She's screaming. Okay. It's all, I mean, it's, you hear it in the silence around you. Think back to your childhood. Were you hearing a lot of birds outside? Do you hear them now?
But at least I hear them here.
Yeah, you do. Okay, you're lucky. Yeah, there are very few birds left, in the US, everywhere. Like you drive out in a car, when I first drove in a car cross country from California to the East Coast, I would say I had to wash my windshield every couple of days because it will be full of insects, right? Now there are hardly any insects. You do that. So she's screaming at us in her silence. And
These are like, okay, small events, but then I'm talking about like comparable to the extreme weather events in terms of climate change. Where's the analogy you draw similar to that with respect to biodiversity loss? Like, what are the major events which are happening, which we are not able to see?
Well, I mean, it happens in the edges. So you go to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. They're saying 40 million acres went desertified this year. So they're measuring how much of the land how much of the forests are gone and how much of the land there's no more soil left. Right?
Yeah.
So it happens at the edges. And we are sitting in our cities, which is only 1% of the land area of the planet.
Yeah.
And we are dictating what happens in the rest of the world. Right? That's what we do in cities.
Yeah, but I mean, what I mean is like, this is a philosophical kind of a question. Like, those are like out there. I think in one of the podcasts you said like, climate change gets a lot of attention because it directly impacts us, because in terms of the weather around us, right? So unfortunately, biodiversity doesn't impact us in such a way, right? So that's where I'm coming from,
Well, yeah, doesn't impact us right now, but in China they're running around employing people to go and pollinate their crops.
Okay.
Is that what you want to do? Take a brush and start pollinating your crops? Because so we are behaving, we have to compensate for the lack of insects. Okay.
Right.
So it does impact us.
Yeah. So we need more examples, like just how you said, like that immediately grabbed my attention. I'm sure it will grab anyone's attention. Like we are hiring it sounds like a really good headline. Yeah. China is hiring people to pollinate instead of bees. So we need I'm sure there are more such stories which need to be uncovered in research and
otherwise
all that.
You're not going to eat. Your food is going to be impacted. Right? And
yeah.
And it's swirling down the toilet bowl really fast. So I'm saying, we have to pay attention to that because it's going down very fast, especially the insect population is going down very fast.
That I got clarified because I was under the impression somehow I actually, to be honest, I tried to maybe look at look at the data in such a way that do we have more time? I asked AI also, by the way, like, can you take the all living planet reports of the past years and give an estimate, projections and all that. But I did ask, like, take into account all other tipping points and all other factors. Then it said like, yeah, we have like 2026 or 27 left.
Right.
So, yeah.
There are, we are, Jamin has a list of 22 different feedback loops that have been triggered.
Oh.
Okay. Now, 22. Now, we don't know if they've all, how many of them have gone beyond the point of no return, or if any have gone beyond the point of no return. And the only way we will know if they've gone beyond the point of no return or if they're difficult to pull back is if we all go vegan and check it.
And check, yeah.
There is no other way. There is no other way to check it. Okay. No models. I don't believe any models that tell me, oh, it's gone beyond the point of no return. Or I don't believe any model that says, no worries, you have another 50 years to do this. No. It's too complex because of all the interlocking loops that we are trying to model.
The analogy I thought of it for this was like we are crash landing now, and it's like the pilot is not putting brakes. He's still going. It's like we have already crash landed, and like the plane is shaking and everything, but we're still enjoying the ride. We're not putting the brakes.
See, some people, you can see the turmoil happening in the political arena. Okay. And that turmoil is for a reason. They're jockeying for who is going to survive as the crash landing happens. And right now, India is not in it at the moment. It's not part of the plan, right? So I'm saying we have to say there is a better way to do this than what they're trying to do in the political arena. There's a better way. We can save everybody. We can save all life. There is a way. Right? That's our message. Right? We don't have to go that way. Crash everything and then say who's going to survive.
Yeah, of course.
And that's, to me, it's a pathetic leadership. The political leadership in the world today is pathetic at the moment. Yeah. So we are trying to get them, wake up, right? See if you can find your courage. They're missing their courage.
So if I take your message, like you said, to amplify the positive, so at least I was thinking, as you said, but political leadership is specific, like who are good. So I only think of Bhutan. So I hope it's not going towards the slaughterhouse thing. I hope there's some progress in that front from stopping it from
right. Yeah.
encouraging slaughterhouses. Yeah. Maybe the small countries should unite first rather than the big nations. I think the small countries, the island nations, who are the most affected with climate change, they should group and raise their voice.
Yeah. But even the middle nations, right? Canada was talking about middle nations. But middle nations should be getting together to figure out how to grow the economy really fast. That's what he's doing. And I think, hold on a second. There's a better way to do this than just trying to get a second wind on planet A.
Right. You spoke in EU a couple of years back, right? EU Parliament.
Right.
Are you planning anything like that this year?
If they invite me, I'll speak anywhere.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let others ask. Thank you.
Toby.
Hello, Dr. Rao. That was a very powerful speech that you gave. And sometimes when I hear you do speeches, I don't know how you don't start tearing up sometimes, because it's a lot of emotion has to be behind it, it's amazing you can put emotional with science, scientists having to understand that nature's an important thing and it's alive and it's not a dead thing. I'm just going to start off by saying that we just found out that where is it? In Amsterdam, they've put a ban on the advertisement of meat products. So it's
right, yeah,
which is quite exciting.
Right, that's progress, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say during the debates there was 4 speakers, one for health,
right.
ethics and environments, but you say there's 4 portals, so the 4th one would be like spirituality.
Correct.
Or philosophy, or
right.
I guess that wasn't one of the speakers wasn't speaking on that. So was it philosophical or?
Well, it was the fourth speaker in this case was the students, the students from Oxford. They're speaking about it from their perspective. So we didn't have anyone from the faith community.
No. Do you think it would have been, what do you think them two sides would have been? Do you think a faithful, hey?
I think they didn't want to do that because the other side doesn't have a case.
No.
What are they going to say? God wants us to kill? I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about all the talks, questions, and what people have been saying, and I was thinking when you're saying you got to think holistically about how the connection to animals and like their rights and their welfare, and
right.
Incorporating that into the fact of biodiversity loss and how do we see it? Do we hear a screaming? And the fact of hearing nothing is really quite a powerful thing to say too, because that's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's I guess the reaction of the biosphere loss is climate change. That's the main cause of it, isn't it?
Right.
So the fact of seeing all this crazy weather is because of what's happening to the biosphere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like George Monbiot said, if aliens came to Earth, we'd just see sheep and think that'd be the, dominant intelligence, whatever, on Earth. They're the ones running the show, which I guess they kind of are because there's so many of them. But yeah, it's
they're all babies.
Yeah. Where I don't understand how we can farm so many sheep. Because I used to live in the countryside and all of the place in England, and wherever you go to the countryside, it's just land for animals and the sheep everywhere. And people don't really eat sheep; they eat chicken. So I keep asking people, what happens to these sheep? You don't eat them, do you? And they says, "Oh, I eat sheep," but they don't. They're always eating chicken. So what happens to them? Do they get sent off to other countries and people eating mutton and whatever they call it?
Right. Yeah.
I guess it's just to sell, isn't it, to other countries and pork and stuff. So it's all about just money. It's nothing to do with actual. Yeah. And we got to look after the farmers and stuff like that. Like they're the, shepherds of the land and the stewards of the land. But it's like, well, they're not really, are they? They're being used just to sell the food off to other countries.
Right. Yeah.
It's disgusting. People think it's great, but they don't really understand it properly. So you need to educate, really, don't you? It's just bewildering. But it seems to be, when you do talk to people, it seems to be like you only get so far and then they put up a wall and don't really want to talk anymore because they can't have that argument and they can't, debate with you. So
there's a lot of fear, no? It's a fear-driven system because when you lie about the protein myth and the calcium myth are the key. Because that induces a sort of visceral fear of your personal well-being and your children's well-being. You don't get enough protein, you don't get enough nutrients, you're going to die. So that's that. That's the kind of fear that they put into people. Okay? And so then they get stuck in that. Or maybe they don't want to think about it at that point, because their addictions will tell them, don't do it, because you'll have to change.
We had some friends over yesterday and they're saying she's using a nutritionist and they're saying to eat protein and to, which should be based on meat. She's got to eat protein from animals. And I was saying just about what I've learned throughout the years and all the research I've found. And I say it's not really true. You don't need to eat, meat and to get your protein. It's just, and as she's not going to the gym to get massive muscles or anything like that. So, these nutritionists are still pushing the, all this false information,
Right.
and they're trying to make people sick still, so they can keep their jobs, something like that. And it's just funny. It just feels like you're just living in a conspiracy theory. People don't want to believe you. And then I was talking to one of my friends, and I says, "I've got all this data to show you on my PowerPoint, and this information, like data from the government, it's the own government's data from the IPCC." And he was like, "Wow, that's amazing. Like, how have you managed to get this? It's free to everyone. You've just got to go through it. It's difficult to read, but when you go through it, if you break it down, it says some incredible stuff." So basically, we have their information, don't we? And
Right.
we're just here to show it and present it instead of it, being all twisted.
Right. Thank you.
But these speeches you give are brilliant. I'm always wanting to hear them. I'm always sharing them and talking about them because they're so powerful. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Tammy?
Hi, everyone. Oh, there's a lot of comments I can make around that. The one thing I thought about, Toby, was I was actually sharing John Robbins' wake that's online with both my partner and a girlfriend of mine who just wrote a letter to the Sai Baba Center. Because every time my grandmother says she wants to get involved, she just joined, I say, "What is your action step this week?" And so she studies with Sai Baba and or the center, and they're serving tons of dairy. So one of the grandmother's campaign when we started was to write letters. And so that's my ask right now. If there's a letter that you would like to write, Toby, from the grandmothers. I was on there, I was watching Brenda Davis. She's a nutritionist from Canada, quite well known, a very good friend of John Robbins. And we can start giving you contacts and emails, and you can go to her website and give people actual nutritionists, dietitians she worked really hard because she was a trailblazer dietitian for vegan plant-based nutrition. And she spoke at our Convergence. So there's a couple PowerPoints on our Convergence on the Trello board, so you can have access to those resources and give people resources. So if you need resources just to give professionals in that area, Brenda Davis is one of our grandmothers, and she's also done a couple PowerPoint talks, and she would probably her website kind of says it all. She probably wouldn't want me giving out her personal email, but that's a start, because she really was the trailblazer in diet, and she had to work really, really hard, Toby. She's such a gentle, beautiful soul, and she wanted to make sure that she could counteract any debate in any arena in the dietitian world. And so she said for the first decade, she studied so hard and just wrote so many papers. So I would like to give a big shout out to her. I just did an interview with Harsha, who did McAdoo. It was a very good interview, but he's really focusing on the faith industry. In the faith, I said industry. That's so funny because that's what it feels like to me. So I was telling him, so he's going to visit. So he's making the connection. His next documentary is about veganism and Buddhism, and how most of them feel they can do whatever, but that was never the precepts. And I told him I just came back from a Vipassana meditation retreat. I just wrote a letter, actually, I sent to Sailesh to put on our website that I'm sending to all the Vipassana centers, and I'm going to actually put a link that Harsh is going to give me as one of the interviews. But all the women got together, and our teacher was this nun from Sri Lanka. And she said, "Oh, the doctor told me I can eat chicken and dairy." She's, because I brought up the dairy question in front of everyone. I said, "How come we're serving dairy here when it's the most cruel and death-promoting practice, killing practice in the industry?" And and it doesn't fit with the Vipassana teachings. And she said, oh, my doctor said I can eat chicken and dairy. She said, do whatever you want. That's what she told everyone. They didn't serve animal flesh, but they served the liquid flesh, which is dairy. So I really like that Harsha's targeting this this group. He also told us any videography we need for Calf and Cow to use anything from his documentary. But I asked him, I said, do you feel like, because part of the Grandmothers campaign is widening our circle of compassion, do you feel like we are widening our circle of compassion to include the mothers of all species? And he said, the dairy production since the film has gone up 23 to 30%, and so has beef. So what do we do with that? I mean, I know that there's always chaos before the shift, but it's hard sometimes to hear that.
Yeah. They're hell bent on driving us over a cliff. Yeah. So we shall see. We have to keep at it. So, but the bell rang at 2026. So I am convinced it's going to happen because the bell rang at 2026.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for it. I wasn't, planning on it. I just, but I was made to go and pull those two pieces of paper apart for 15 seconds, and the bell rang at 2026.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I need to go. I have a client. Thank you, everyone. And the Grandmothers will be meeting again starting Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, every Wednesday night at 5:30 Pacific. If anybody wants to join, it'll be in the Convergence room to bring in, so we can talk a little bit about what we're working on right now. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Ray?
I hesitate to evoke her name, but one of your opposition in the debate was Katie Hopkins. And I'm kind of fascinated in her role in this because she was clearly in a different headspace than the rest of her debate partners. And she was involved in the debate. She cracked wise. She was making jokes throughout the whole thing and appealing largely to that late majority and laggards who resist any movement. Generally they want to try to maintain the status quo. So she was kind of the biggest opposition to your position, because as you pointed out, a lot of your debate opponents confided in you that they're actually on your side. It's just a matter of degrees. Do we need to go vegan, or is there something less that we can do? Is there some way that we can participate without going vegan? Where she was like, veganism is dumb, and cracked wise in ways that humor is very engaging to people. There are people who like to dunk on vegans, and she gave them more material to work with. She mocked you for Mr. More than 100%.
Yeah.
How can you have more than 100%? There's an interesting
right.
correlation with that, and it's something that U.S. president has recently reduced emission, the cost of things more than 100%.
Right.
The pharmaceuticals. Sorry to equate you with that example, but when there's an argument that's so uncomfortable to be on her side, like, does Oxford want to be on her side? They keep inviting her back to debate. She's been in several of them for her entertainment value and ability to just say those convenient myths, say them out loud, and roll it around and see how it feels, how it sits with you. I don't think it sat well with anybody who's really an environmentalist, who's really understands things. She had an anti-woke agenda that a lot of people will resonate with, but they may not be that useful to our movement anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, she didn't sway any minds. And people were booing her when she was talking. So,
Well, everybody was laughing because
I know.
she's a bit of a stand-up comic in that sense.
Yeah.
But you laugh at the absurdity. And I
Right.
think the absurdity needs to be dragged out into the light. This is what you're arguing. This is your champion.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't know who got the most views after the fact. I certainly hope it was you. And then the people that are seeking out your wisdom are looking for wisdom rather than antics.
Yeah, no, I think she has a big following, so I'm sure she got a lot of views for what she was
But this is
saying.
my point. I think it's working in our favor.
Right. Yeah.
The people that authentically believe her and like what she's saying aren't on the cusp of change. They're not on the early majority that are going to be appreciating the innovation that veganism is.
Right. Yes.
But I suppose the downside is that as a whole, they can reject the debate because they say this is the best person that we could come up with. And I suggest, what kind of a debate would it have been if it had been Tara Garnett instead, who has a professional interest in this topic?
I'm sure Tara Garnett was approached because Disha was trying to contact a lot of people. She contacted people in Oxford, she couldn't get people to join.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of holding the feet to the fire. Talk directly into the camera. Somebody share this video with Dr. Tara Garnett, and I'd love to know how she feels about her co-authoring the paper, Livestock and Greenhouse Gas Emissions, the importance of getting the numbers right. Are you still working on that? Do you have any new evidence? Are you avoiding the evidence?
Thank you for that.
Is it a problem to call out people's names, to talk about them directly?
No.
Am I in danger?
No. You'll find out.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. There's enough chaos going on in the world.
The truth doesn't go away. It's just some people have to recognize their role in dragging the heels of industry. You did a huge favor, Dr. Tara Garnett, when you managed to provide some sort of this paper that I just mentioned. It's nonsense. It's garbage. It's not. There's no authority behind it. The list of people that are involved in it are agronomists. You didn't find a single climate person to vet your methodology. You just provided a touchstone to say, oh, good, there's a paper published in a maybe peer-reviewed journal that debunked. That's the favorite of the least intellectual, is to say, oh, it's been debunked. And that's that. Google Goodland and Anhang debunked, and you'll find many people who just say, oh yeah, that debate was fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Whereas there's more and more evidence that their research was, the foundation that your research and Gerard Bishop's has been built upon, and it opened the topic. And we can observe as not as scientists, but as historians, to say that the door was slammed shut in 2011, and the heroes of the environment were silent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the people who came out of the concentration camps went around saying, how horrible things are, these are things, it's happening. They're killing people there. And people didn't want to hear that. They silenced them, right? The same thing. It's a totalitarian system that you're in, controlled by the animal agriculture industry. The entire system, right? Entire system is totalitarian. So we have to create a system that frees us.
We need to find ways of holding the feet to the fire, of the people who are the authentic heroes. They are encouraging you, but they don't seem to be able to stand behind you in solidarity.
Right. They'll come.
And there things like the planetary boundary. They have so many co-authors on it, on the papers that originated it, that it's something that couldn't be ignored. And I know that you have faced, and Gerard has faced, opposition because, hey, there's only one author on this. How come? How legitimate could it be when only one person wants to talk about it? So that has to be part of the next steps, to do a little bit of team building. Things like Bill Ripple got a team of environmentalists together to talk about impacts in a more evidence-based way. And there's a good team to hold their feet to the fire and say, make your position on what Dr. Rao and what Gerard Bishop are saying, and present your evidence. Part of it is science, but because you're using the available science, and part of it is the accounting. That's usually where the politics are fully engaged, and the history of our understanding of methane impacts has been manipulated. There's no other way to put it. They observed their solutions. They started with their solutions and then built a story to support renewable energy, which you've given the perfect example of the drunk person looking for his keys under the street light, even though he knows that's not where his keys are. It's just where the light is.
We have to close this, Ray. I have to get going. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Metafudians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk. Dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction, not pressure but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the meta zone, light in the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we inspire.